Hello. Can you believe it's been 3 months since Wicked Women were here? 3 months. And I have to tell you, it's probably been really difficult 3 months. And we're so sorry that we've not been here, but here we are. I can't believe the words are actually coming out of my mouth. It is Sunday. It is 9 p.m. in the UK. We're coming in an hour earlier. And then we're live. It's truly Wicked Women is here. We are back. And I'm going to bring in my other co-host, my other partner in crime, the woman that puts the W into the other part of Wicked is the lovely Val from Virginia, where I believe it's about, I've got to work this out, I think it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Hello, lovely.
Hello, how are you?
It's so nice to be back.
It is.
I'm praying that the puppy stays quiet.
Hopefully he will be a good boy.
Well, yes, it's so weird. And I can see people coming in, joining us already. And it's so lovely that we've been missed because we have been gone a long time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was very sick, really, really sick, and ended up having to go up into the hospital. And it's just been very traumatic. And I still have stuff going on. So we may not be here every week, but we will be here when we can. And I know, Val, it's been a tough time for you yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it usually is. I go to the doctor tomorrow, so hopefully she'll have to be able to help me a little bit.
And we have to send our love to Carly, our other wicked lady, who's going through a really tough time health-wise right now. And she will. We hear and see Carly when she's up, when she's ready. And we send her lots of love. But we thought we just better get out there, just better get on with it. So as I say, we're coming live from London. It's just gone 5 minutes past 9, and as I say, we're coming in an hour earlier. And Val, I believe it's 4 p.m. in Virginia, isn't it?
It is 4:05 here in Virginia, yes. Which
means I think it's roughly after 2 Mountain Time and 3. Is that Central?
Central, yeah.
I'm getting it. It's only taken me 2 years.
It's taken you a while, but you'll get there.
And we also got to send our love to Ken, who at the moment is having surgery, and we need him back where he belongs, in front on the screen. So send out your love and positive thoughts. Hello, Keith. Hi, Michael. It's so nice for you guys to join us. We have a really interesting topic to come in with, and it's something that's close to my heart because I'm been in that position with trauma. And in the promo, we looked at anxiety, PTSD, abuse, agoraphobia, monkey mind, all kinds of stuff. And oh, hi, Susie. Literally, it's been a tough time. And I don't know about you, but trauma has made it so difficult for me. How about yourself? I mean, you know where I'm coming from. You're singing from the same hymn sheet, aren't you?
I am. And I had it a long time, and it took me a long time to get over it.
Yeah.
And the remnants stay with you. I mean, even when you get over it, you still have, not necessarily flashbacks, but you still have that, deep down. I mean, I don't think it ever really goes away completely.
And Keith, this is something you and I have talked about before in the past. If you want to pop on and join us, that's great. As Michael, I know, is going to. The thing is, with trauma, what you and I was chatting about this with Mark earlier on, and we were looking at a very good point. Is trauma genetic? Is it passed down? They talk about, and I want to bring up a really interesting, I have to put my glasses on because I cannot see a thing without them.
I can't see with them, so.
Some people have said that what we do today affects the next 7 generations. Repetitive traumas that happen to our ancestors, as many as 7 generations, can be passed down to our children. And I've heard this by quite a few, podcasts and other people talking about it, is that as children, we're all sponges. Human beings, we're sponges, Val. And also we repeat patterns and behaviors that are passed on from the previous generations. Either we watch it or they instill it into us, or can it be even in our DNA and genetic? And therefore the environment and genetics play a role in our trauma and development.
I sure hope that's wrong. I really do.
I don't think it is.
I
I
mean,
actually think it's a good point.
well, yeah, it is, because, as much as you try to hide your kids from seeing things, they do. They're literal sponges for anything that goes on, good or bad. I tried to hide my girls from a lot of stuff, and didn't know until years later that I didn't really do a very good job. They saw what I tried to hide from them.
I think it's very true that parents try to hide us, but as children we have ears, and we pick up. But the thing is, we try to think we're in a nurturing environment. We don't want to make the mistakes our parents made and our grandparents made. I mean, my parents' marriage was very, very traumatic and very problematic. And there was a hell of a lot of trauma. And when my mum carried me, she had a hell of a lot of trauma. I had a very traumatic she had a very traumatic pregnancy, and I had a very traumatic birth, and I was very, very ill, and almost died many times. And to be honest, my health has always been a problem. My mum always says, I actually wonder if what happened to you when you were in the womb, physically and mentally, whether or not that's played a part. And I think that's true.
Yeah, I think I think everything that the mother goes through affects the child in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally sharing a body. So it would have to impact them, on, every level, just like it would the mother.
Yeah.
Sometimes worse. If your stress level goes up, it affects, the creatine and all that in your body, and it affects the baby's developing brain. So it kind of is not necessarily just the mental part. It can affect the physical part of the child, because it affects the physical of the mother.
Sure.
And in the development of the child, I think it kind of changes that.
I mean, Kate comes up with a really good point. The stress hormones would be in the bloodstream. Yes, they would be, 100%. And now, I suppose if you come from a background where there was a lot of abuse and violence, you would probably go out of your way to actually say, well, I never want anyone to have that. But unfortunately, and let's just look what it means by generational trauma. It basically is unhealed, adverse life experiences that are passed down from generation to generation, often in unspoken ways. And family members can show and share similar emotional and behavioral patterns to the relative or ancestor that directly experienced it. So say our grandparents had a terrible experience, it has come down. Maybe they didn't show it, but for some reason,
Well, I thought of an example of one of those unspoken things, and it sounds so simple, but it really tells you how much their actions, impact the children. My mom, whenever she cooked spaghetti when I was little, before she put it in the pot, she broke it in half. and put it in the pot.
Mm.
Always. Well, so do I. I thought that's how you're supposed to do it. That's
Did you
the
watch her
normal
do
way.
that though? Did you
Her
watch her?
mother did. Her mother did it, and so she did.
Mm.
So I did. I mean, that's when you and she never said, "Okay, now this is what you do." I just watched her do that.
Yeah.
But the true reason is because my grandmother's pot wasn't big enough for the spaghetti, so she
Yeah.
broke it in half. But all through the years and the generations, that's how that's what happens,
Yeah.
because that's what we've seen. I mean, I just so happened I found out why my grandmother did that, and it had no. I mean, it was just because her pot was too small. But Mom picked it up, and I picked it up. So if we can do things like that by watching, why wouldn't we pick up their other actions
I think
because of their trauma?
you're right, because if you think about it, everything mum feels, baby feels.
Yep.
They hear everything, they feel everything, and as I said, and certainly that is a form of generational trauma. And I know Mark and I were chatting today about saying the mantra to try and release some of that trauma, which is, if I get this right, and I say it myself sometimes, is I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. It's saying that over and over again can release a lot of trauma. And I think it's mindfulness, and everything is about consciousness as well. It's a conscious choice.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things that happen in our own life that bring in trauma, abuse, domestic violence, rape, bad experiences, bullying, betrayal, all kinds of stuff. And for instance, and I know something that Michael will probably talk about when he comes in, because I asked him to talk about it when he comes in, is PTSD. Because obviously, if you're in one of the armed forces, etc., and you went through certain experiences, you will have certain experiences from that that will still come back. I want to look at some of the anxiety, because I don't know about you, but I have couple of things I want to look at. One is health anxiety, because I really have health anxiety, and I never did until my health was constant ill health. One thing happened after another, and it was like, when is this going to stop? When is this going to change? And you don't like talking about it, because people look at you as if you're some sort of nut job or hypochondriac.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like, well, actually, no. And anxiety is very different for everybody.
Sure.
And I'm going to just pick up some, and then we'll listen to what you went through with anxiety. But for me, it's kind of like, I feel like the floor's coming up to meet me. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I get the shakes. I don't know how to stop them. I'm almost like, I'm racing. I get very irritable, and I snap. I snap, very irritable, and I panic. And also, I have adrenaline. It wakes me up when I sleep. I'm asleep, and the next thing you know, I've got adrenaline pouring through my body like ice cold water. My heart's racing, and I can't sleep. And I realized, I pick up something about being burnt out, because I actually think when you have constant trauma, constant emotional pain, constant health issues, you become burnt out. And I certainly am burnt out. I know I'm burnt out, and I know that I am going through my own stuff, and I've got to heal from that. And I'm still got stuff ahead of me, which I've got to deal with, as in physically. But for you, Val, I mean, for me, it's like, when I have a good day or good month, I think that's it. It's gone. I don't need to worry about it anymore. And then something will just happen, and I'm back there.
Yeah. And I think that's the same with everybody, see, mine is more the constant pain, physical and mental, but mine's more physical. You
Yeah.
know, I can't sleep because of it, the pain. I can't do what I want to do. You know, and it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, I'm never going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know,
Sure.
and I've yet to get to the point of giving up, but I have had those down days when I did not want to move, didn't want to talk to anybody. You know, I don't have them as much now, but you know, they're always there. You know, it's kind of like a cycle with me. The I have kind of I haven't really gotten completely over, but I've learned how to deal with my past trauma.
Mm.
And I honestly think the pain, the physical pain that I have now, has gotten me over a lot of my past.
Interesting point.
And it's mainly because, you know, when you're doing something else, it takes your mind off of whatever you're trying to not think about. So I do a lot of things to kind of get my mind focused on something else. Of course, the pain is every day, 24/7.
Mm.
Some days it's less than others. And on those days, you know, I try to do something to kind of get my mind off of it. My past trauma doesn't come up as much now. It's
I get that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you sit down and you think, not one day goes by that I am not in pain.
And that's like a health anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because, you know,
it's
my sister and I have it. And we said to each other the other day, and we were like, my mum, very strong character, very strong. And if she comes from the war generation, very different generations. I mean, my mum talks about, you know, as a child hearing the doodlebugs coming down and throwing herself down and literally praying that it didn't hit you. That generation, the generation, you know, before us, very strong generation. You know, I mean, it would take a lot to bring them down because they had to be. And I
exactly.
wonder about the generations coming up now, in front of, you know, behind us, you know, the younger ones, whether or not they are very different, because now it seems that, you know, the slightest thing happens and I'm traumatized and you can't.
Yeah. But
But
I
I
think
wonder,
they have different traumas.
they do. They
You
do.
know, it's like my kids didn't have to go through or don't have to go through the same thing I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to go through the same things they did. So I think it's all trauma, but it's maybe generational differences. So it changes you differently.
Yes. Yes, for
You
sure.
know, you know, there's no way that my kids could do what my grandmother's generation did.
Times are changing. I just want to bring up
Yeah.
some of the symptoms for anxiety. So you have a churning feeling in your stomach, you feel lightheaded or dizzy. And that can come with stress, actually. You can be really, really stressed out, and all of a sudden you're lightheaded, you know, but you're not stressed at that particular moment. And the next thing you know, you're lightheaded and dizzy, and you're thinking, why? I felt good. Pins and needles, restless, unable to sit still, headaches, backache, or other aches and pains, faster breathing, heart that is thumping or irregular, sweating, cold, hot flushes, sleep problems, grinding your teeth. Yes, I do that. Feeling sick, needing the toilet more often, changes in your sex drive, and panic attacks. Now, panic attacks, for anyone who's never had a panic attack, let me tell you, you know, and people go, oh, do you know what I hate when they go, pull yourself together.
Just
It's
calm
all right.
down.
you're fine. Just calm down. It doesn't work like that. Do not think I want to calm down. But the fact is, I'm already in a place where I have to take my consciousness, my mind. But sometimes I can't do that because physically my body is already going somewhere else. And with me, what I have is a feeling of dread. I wake up sometimes with the feeling of dread. I'm fearing the worst. I'm terrified. And I can honestly say that when I got Huckleberry and we were in the car with him, I said to Roger, you got to stop. I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I sat and sobbed hysterically in that car because I was terrified. Because I cannot and will not go through what I went through before with Henry. Obviously different dog, different circumstances, but the panic and the fear is still there. And I think it's the same in relationships. If you have an aggressive, violent relationship and you get with someone, or a narcissistic relationship, and you get with someone and you see something that reminds you, or it brings it back. And I think the other thing as well is that you can't stop worrying, and people go, take your mind off something, watch a movie, read a book, listen to some music, and you're like, I'm trying and it's just not working. So I think unless you've had anxiety, panic attacks, etc., you have no idea. And all you can do is basically sit with someone and help them through it. What are you feeling? What does this feel like to you? What can I do to help you? etc.
But sometimes there's really nothing other than just being there, not talking, not asking questions, nothing like that. Just having someone else there is enough.
I'm trying not to step on a dog's head because it's right. And it feels really weird having a dog underneath my table. Let me tell you that. The other thing as well, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel I have so much pressure going on inside my body. I need to cry. I need to cry and let it out. And it really does help. I remember I have a condition called inappropriate sinus tachycardia, which I never had until 2010. And they used to take me into hospital. My heart rate was going really, really fast. It wouldn't slow down. I felt completely calm in myself. It would happen to me if I was watching telly. It would happen to me if I was cleaning my teeth. It would happen to me. It would wake me up at night. And they kept saying it's trauma, it's panic, it's anxiety. And I kept saying, look, it isn't. And it actually turned out to be something completely different. And I think that a lot of people get dismissed with anxiety. And my sister goes through a hell of a lot of anxiety. And our own children have said to her, which I think is quite sad, we don't want to hear about your health. We don't want to stop talking about your health, And it's like, so what does she do? Does she just hold on to it? I mean, you have to share it. Yes, you have to deal with it yourself and find
But
what
that's
works.
one way to deal, is being able to talk to somebody about it, being able to get it out instead of holding it all in. That's, and like I said, even if they never say a word, just having a physical body there to talk to, no, they can't fix you.
Yeah.
But they can let you get your feelings out.
Sure.
And not downplay them. Or
that is a very important thing, because it happens. They do downplay it. And for instance, don't ever do that to somebody who's going through. Distract them, encourage them, support them, but don't downplay it. I picked up this. My mum gave this to me because a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff right now. And I wanted to look at the symptoms of being burnt out, which is, people don't realize they're burnt out because they've carried on and carried on and carried on. And really important thing here was Shashi trying to get my glasses up. Between work and health and money and day-to-day and family and children, etc., burnout starts really, really slowly. You don't know you're going into burnout. You don't know that you're going to go down that road. And it becomes across very creeping, like you become fatigued, you become tired, unable to switch off mentally. And you then start to get health issues. So energy levels will start to go down. Your sleep becomes erratic, insomnia, etc. And you feel completely overwhelmed, which is somewhere I've been and am many times. Your ability to enjoy life and to enjoy the small things becomes difficult. And you're like, I don't want to have sex. I don't want to talk to anyone. I can't be bothered to watch the TV. Music doesn't help. And a lot of times, if you keep pushing all that stuff down, trauma, whatever it is, your body doesn't know what to do with it because it can't push it any further down. So you start getting health issues, autoimmune, other emotional, mental health, all kinds of stuff will happen because the body is not meant to deal with so much. It can only deal with so much before it goes, I'm done, you know. And that's when you start to act like, I can't cope. I don't want this. I feel overwhelmed. I'm worried. I'm scared. Please don't leave me alone. You know, and so that is something that I think burnout is a very important thing to look at, because even though you've got all these other issues and they've got names like anxiety, panic attack, PTSD, etc., agoraphobia, being burnt out is something I think a lot of people are walking around with in their life right now, Val.
Yeah. A lot of them, you know, get burnt out at work, and their work just goes down. Just they cannot, you know, I actually got burnt out at a job I had, and I would literally get ill on my way to work because I hated it so bad.
And also bereavement.
But I had to go, you know.
As you're at work, you have to, no matter how bad you're feeling, you've got to go. And bereavement can do that as well.
Sure.
Because you're having to work, carry on, but you're dealing with a bereavement. You've still got to pay the bills. Everything's got to happen. But you've got all this other stuff going on. And I don't know about you, but after someone's gone, people stop asking. But I think if you're dealing with all this, you're running on fumes a lot. I'm going to bring Michael, because I want to talk about PTSD before we look at ways of helping. And it's been a long time since we've had Mr. Wicked on the show.
Hello, ladies. I'm sitting here in the dark. Speaking of health issues and trauma, after I had the shots in my back, I have been kind of bedridden, and I got the best therapy thing in the world here is the puppies. You know what I'm saying? They look after me every day. I was trying to take some notes here in the dark. You was talking about the PTSD.
I wanted to ask you, Michael, because you suffer with PTSD.
Yes,
and I know some of the things you can talk about and some things you can't, but how did you know you had PTSD?
When you wake up and you clean back your nightstand.
I can't hear. Come closer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said when you wake up, you know, from night terrors and night trauma, and you've knocked everything off of the nightstand, you've tore holes in your sheets, you basically, at the time a significant other is in the other room. You're like, hey, what's wrong with you? And your subconscious deals with it, and you like have flashbacks in your sleep. And I was like, no, I'm perfectly fine. Nope. And you find out that you're not perfectly fine. So the first thing they did to me was send me to the VA.
You got to come back again. Say that again.
When I talked about they sent me to the VA, and they said you need to go to a therapy group. Total waste of time. I met an older Vietnam vet.
Why was it? Sorry to interrupt, but why was it a waste of time?
It just that they really didn't help. It's just everybody kind of pissing and moaning, and it's almost like a competition. Who was worse than the other person? Everybody was trying to like one up somebody oh, my trauma is this or my trauma is that. You know, I'm not taking anything away from my brothers and sisters, you know, in the Army, but I might have just had a shitty group. So I talked to an older Vietnam vet, and he told me, he said, be a man, go home, get you a bottle, and every time you have a feeling, take a drink. Drink so you don't have no more feelings. Suppress it like a man. I was like, cool. So I did that for a long time, and everybody has to deal with their trauma their own way. And it's like I said, you know, the dogs here, they help me a lot. You know, if I'm having a bad night, these things will lay across my legs. They'll crawl up on my back. You know, they want to make sure that I lay still. And that's how you deal with it. And you just got to keep living your life. And sooner or later, you just take the process of that and you process it a little bit at a time.
You talk about night terrors and everything happening at night, but what would happen in the daytime for you?
Oh, anxiety attack. You don't do crowds. I don't do concerts. I sit with my back to the wall when I go to a restaurant. I got to see what's coming in the door or out of the door. Somebody drops a pan. You know, it's just, I don't do crowds anymore.
Is that like fireworks as well?
Oh, I love 4th of July. If I can see where they're going off and where they're landing, I'm fine. But if I don't know where it's coming from or where it's landing, that's a totally different issue. Me or the dogs, either one, don't like them. I often
think about this. The reason Val and I were talking about generational trauma. Do you think that obviously you were in the Army and you obviously got your PTSD from that, but it's like, do you feel that in your generations in your family there was trauma passed down?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you know, I grew up, and you know, people's heard me on here before. Wasn't a great childhood, and you know, and that's what I told somebody. You know, I come from that, and when I went into the Army, well, violence was nothing new to me. I had saw it my whole life, and that's not any way you want to bring it. But Michael Allen, when I started doing the behavioral health science for Grand Canyon, and we actually flew out to Arizona to speak to the teachers and the other people taking it. And something that he told me that almost broke me. They asked him, why are you taking the behavioral health like your dad? He said, I see the struggles that my dad goes through, physically, mentally, and the guys that I consider, you know, aunts, aunts and uncles, you know, in the Army, you know, because it's like a big family. He said, I have seen these guys suffer so much and never say a word. And he didn't know I was hearing it. And I'm like, holy shit, I thought I hit it pretty well. And, you know, and y'all seen him, you know, Michael's a big boy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, holy shit, you know, that's pretty deep, you know? And, and when we got out there, and, you know,
it's like you were saying, Val, with it, you know, you thought you hid it from your girls, right?
And I'm like, and well, Valerie's seen Michael, you know, because, you know, he used to work right up from where she lives. And when I say he's a big boy, you know, he's 6'5", 240 pounds. And most of them, they think that big, you know, like big guys don't pick up on that, or they're just like a brute or whatever, you know, and you know, he is a bruiser, you know, and, but I thought that is some awful kind words from a big boy, you know what, that, you know, that is, and,
what was it you're going to say, Val? Sorry.
I was just going to say, have you noticed that the older generation, like Vietnam, Korea, all that, they totally process their PTSD different than the, you know, the later wars. It's like they didn't have that
infrastructure to deal with it.
Yeah, they didn't have you know, the ways that we have now. They didn't have that, and they had to push it down and, you know, deal with it on their own.
Yeah.
And it did come out a lot in their dreams and at night. I know with my dad it did. That's when his PTSD came out, was when he was asleep.
And it's interesting just to bring this in, like in the Second World War and the First World War, it was called shell shock. And it wasn't talked about. And there was a lot of gentlemen that came back, and women that, you know, from the First World War that didn't get the support. They, you know, my grandfather was in the First World War. He was 15 when he signed up because he didn't want to be a coward, as his older brother had gone in, and he was in the trenches, and he saw terrible things.
But we didn't know what it was at the time.
Didn't know. And my mum said,
you know, it took generations to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
You know, they knew that something was wrong.
Yeah.
But didn't know how to deal with it. So you just had to deal on your own.
When it first came out,
I think a lot of suicides and a lot of murders took place because of it.
Sure.
Yeah. When it first came out, they called it battle fatigue. They just thought the people was battle fatigue. And and when she said the word shell shock, that reminds me of a bit that George Carlin did years ago. We softened up a lot of words. It went from battle fatigue to shell shock to all these things, and now they just give it initials. And just because you shorten up the anonym, or it don't sound as whatever, don't mean the trauma is not as real. I can only imagine being in the trenches, being mortared, having the gas, come in, hand-to-hand combat.
Hitting the beaches, knowing what was coming.
Oh yeah,
sure.
And making it through it, having not only the PTSD, but the survivor's guilt. And what it shoulda, coulda.
Yeah,
it had to be horrible.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things I just want to look at, as in there are three main types of trauma: acute, chronic, and complex. Acute trauma is a single, unexpected, and stressful event. Chronic, repeated and prolonged traumatic events such as abuse or domestic violence. Complex, exposure to multiple traumatic events that can be severe and prolonged. And looking down at some of this, I just wanted Michael probably would be able to agree with some of this. So looking at acute trauma is a single incident. It could be an assault, it could be a rape, it could be any kind of it. Chronic, something you're going through, like with domestic violence, again and again and again, the same pattern going over and over. But complex, other things going on. You're being exposed to this. You're trying to deal with that. You feel like you're drowning. Childhood abuse, neglect, domestic violence, sexual assault, war-related experiences comes under complex, which you, Val, myself, and Michael have all gone through. And trauma can be physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, and also, if I get this right, societal. But one of the symptoms, there are 17 symptoms of PTSD: intrusive thoughts, nightmares, avoidance, memory loss, negative thoughts, self-isolation, anger and irritability, reduced interest in activities, hypervigilance. That is so true, being more alert than usual, difficulty concentrating, insomnia, flashbacks, mood swings, depression, suicidal thoughts, substance abuse, sleep disturbances, and hyperarousal. I mean, Michael, coming out of a war situation, did you actually know that you had it when you were in the army, or did you know was there a hint of anything?
No, that's just how you live your life. And and I went and Chandler, like I said, the kids around here, I've been very blessed. When I was in my one relationship that was really, really bad, he told me, he said, "You're so used to being tense, running tense, high adrenaline, high, whatever, like high impact." He said, "Jesus Christ," he said, "But," he said, "you think this is normal?" He said, "This is not normal. People don't live like this."
But
I said, "Yes, we do." He's like, "No."
But I think the reason a lot of people don't realize that they have it is because, like, when you're in the military, you're still
That's
in
normal. That's normal.
it. You
That's
know,
normal everyday life.
that is the trauma. The normal for you is what's traumatizing you. And it goes for women who are in domestic violence because they think that's normal. They think that's the norm. So they don't realize that they're traumatized until they're not in that situation. And I think one thing that hurts women more than anything, when they finally get out of that, they don't know how to act.
No.
When they're not in that situation, because they're so used to it. They're so used to being in that, that situation. And now they're not in there, and they think that something's wrong. Someone's treating me good. Something's not right.
That's a really good point.
And
because
they stay in those relationships because of that.
Michael brought up, and you brought up about, when you meet someone and it's a good relationship, and you're looking at that person going, it's too good to be true. If it looks good, tastes good, feels good, it's too good to be true.
So somebody has an agenda. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll self-sabotage it before it happens to me, right? So you get rid of someone, or you act a certain way, or you'll start an argument, or you'll do something like that. I have done that in my life. And I know people that are doing it or have done it in their life too. And it's like,
you get really passive aggressive. So it don't look like it's your fault.
You think if you have had the same abuse for so many years, and you finally meet someone who's totally opposite, like Michael said, you automatically think, okay, they're buttering me up for something. He's trying to draw me in, and that's not the real him.
Yeah.
And you constantly waiting for that shoe to fall, because you constantly think, oh, I know myself. I've said something that would have started a major fight before, and they've laughed about it. And I'm like, really? You didn't get mad? They're like, why? I'm like, okay, something ain't right, because you're supposed to get all upset and mad over what I just said. But then when they don't, something's wrong.
Keith comes up with a really, really good point. And I'm just muted Michael just for a second because of his microphone. But it's like Keith comes up with, you push people away so you don't get abandoned. And it's like, you all these people on dating sites, they meet someone, they want a date, I'm ready for it, bring it on. And then 6 weeks in, 8 weeks in, 3 months ago, oh no, just, so they'd rather go from relationship to relationship to relationship. And when they get to that point where it's really, really good, or it's really, really, it's getting to that good space, they go, no, I can't do this. I've just got to end it. And I think that's what happens. I've done it.
But I think one thing that most people don't talk about is you push those good people away because you feel like you don't deserve somebody like that.
Interesting point.
You've been through all this, and that's what you're used to. Therefore, you think, okay, why are you being so good to me? I don't deserve this. This is what I come from. That's what I deserve. I don't deserve somebody doing all this for me with no agenda.
It's bound to go wrong. They're bound to hurt me. And the thing is, when you've been damaged, and we're all damaged, Michael, if you can sort your microphone out, I can bring you back on, but it's really tinny. When you've been damaged, and certainly there's not one person on this planet that hasn't got some kind of damage, and we're all like tortoises carrying around our baggage and crap, looking at the positive ways to get through trauma. There is a way out, and it can take you years to get there, and you can go through harming yourself, substance abuse, self-sabotage again and again and again, and before you actually get the realization this is not good. I need to stop what I'm doing. Michael, like, when did you, what did you, I know you say the dogs are really important to you because they've given you that support. Was there any other support that you got that really helped you? Trying to bring it back. There you go.
Okay. Let's say just other veterans. We're a very tight knit community, and like I said, a lot of people might think I was shitting on the VA about their little PTSD group. I'm not. If it worked for somebody, that's great. It didn't work for me. But I heard something the other day, and I was wanting to bring it up before I forget. I saw it in one of the guys I was in the other night. And he said, you know what? He said, we're brothers because we went through the same shit at the same time. We trauma bond. And you bond with people through trauma, which that sounds weird. But when you've ate the same dirt, you've been in the same shit, you dodged rounds together, you've faced near life and death situations constantly. That's a bond that'll never be broken. I got brothers of all shapes, sizes, colors, nationalities, you know what I'm saying? Because, we've been there and we speak our own language. We deal with our own stuff. And I see, just taking the veteran group. And I see some people, they flock to church. Some people, they deal with their trauma, a 30 rack at a time, or a good, stiff bottle of bourbon. And me, I don't like drinking. I'll have a drink. I'm not, what do you call it? Prohibitionist or whatever by no means. The puppies help me. My pigeons. Just, when after the shots, I've been down for 5 months. Like I said, I'm still sitting in here in the dark now.
That can take a toll on you. Like, do you find that you get help? We were talking about health anxiety, Michael. Do you find that you get health anxiety?
I do now. After they put the shots on my back, they said, "Oh, let's try something new." And I'm like, "Oh, hell no, we're not." And and family. Family has been great with me here too. I ain't going to say anything because she's very keen about her privacy, but I've talked to her.
It's important to have support.
It is, and takes me to and advocates. You know what I'm saying? When you can't speak for yourself, when you're so sick, and she's like the little sister I never knew I needed. And
but it's important to have somebody to support you, but they also, a lot of times, they don't need to try to fix you.
No,
they just need to be there for you to fix yourself.
No,
just in order to fix yourself, you kind of have to talk to other people who understand or somewhat understand.
And I was talking about the dogs, which Wendy saw earlier. This one here, right now, he's got his head laid on the pillow beside me. Dad's in bed, he's in bed. Milo's guarding the door. You know what I'm saying? They know their role.
It's an interesting point. Do you think that sometimes we're so traumatized by human beings in our life that we then turn to the animal kingdom because we know they're not going to hurt us like human beings?
There's in there. Yeah, they're that's like I saw Val's cat a while ago. He was walking around, and that's what I said to Val's co-host. There's Val's kitty cats, and like I said, I seen a shirt the other day that says, "Why I love dogs is because people suck." And I saw that shirt, and I thought, I need that.
Well, they have unconditional love.
They do. I can come home, and they're happy to see me.
Yeah.
And if I got a treat in my pocket, it's even better.
I went to see a therapist, not a therapist, but it was like reflexologist, massage, whatever. And they were saying that when you get back issues, it can be from a way of feeling that you were never supported or you don't feel supported. And our back is what carries our body, right? I'm not, obviously Michael's got an injury, so it's very different. But our spine is what we walk around on. It holds our head up. It keeps us going. But in our life, if we feel unsupported, if we feel all those feelings, our bodies will start to manifest things, and sometimes it can come in different areas of our body. I'm a great believer that our consciousness, our mind, is the greatest computer on this planet.
Yeah.
And to keep this clear and focused is the most hard thing to do at times. I've gone through 2 years, and the reason why one of the reasons I wanted to pick trauma tonight, because to help me, especially as well with what and Michael and Val and everybody else that's going through their own individual traumas, is you feel alone because you shut people out, because you don't want to talk about what you're going through, because you don't want them to see you like that, but also you don't want to see yourself like that, because I have been to a point where I've been on my knees into a very dark place and looking like I wanted to walk in the sea. And let's talk about that, because there are times that looking at the dark side of the force, if you want to put it that way, it looks like it's the easy way out. Not an easy way out. That's the wrong way out. Rephrase that. It seems like it's maybe the best way out at that particular time. You're in a dark hole. You can't get out. You can't see the light. You feel completely overwhelmed, and it'll all be over. And that happens to a lot of people every day around the world. They do take their own lives. Depression, anxiety, trauma, anxiety, it's a very serious subject, and I think people need to realize that you can walk around, do a day's job, or look after a family, or just try and get through the day. It takes every single bit of energy that we have mentally. And I know that I've been in a place in the last, and that's why a lot of people say to me, where have you been, Wendy? We haven't seen you. Well, I have felt like I don't want to be out there. I've talked to Val, I've spoken to Michael, etc. But I don't feel like Wendy. That's the other thing as well. Have you ever had this, Michael, your microphone? Do you ever get where you feel displacement? You feel like you're here, but you're not you, you're someone else. Like you're Val, but you actually feel like someone else is in your body right now. Like you've gone through so much, you've become this other person.
Oh, absolutely. I have become someone else. I'm not the same person I used to be. But I think trauma plus the good things have happened also that have made me who I am today. I may not have started out like this, but this is who I am. And it's been me the whole time. I've just changed. Thankfully, I've never been to the point of saying, giving up.
Self-deletion.
I've never been to that point, and I refuse to let myself get to that point.
I've been there a couple of times, let me tell you, and I
refuse to let myself get there because I know that is not me. My beliefs and the way I feel about things, that'll never be me.
Michael, you've been there, I know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. 22 a day is a real number. And to touch on something you brought up a while ago about your back being your support. My mom used to have a saying. She'd tell people, if you ain't got your own backbone, she said, hold still and I'll duct tape a broom to your spine so you can have a spine. And but I have seen people, and when people get beat down, their posture goes and they're hunkered down. And it's like somebody has just, life has actually, kicked them around the head and the shoulders so much that they are beat down and they do slouch. And because you can tell somebody who has been beat down by the way they carry their person.
Well, that's really one of those signs is you kind of draw yourself away from everyone.
Yeah.
And,
I did have a doctor tell me. I had a doctor tell me one time when I had to go to the ER with my back that I healed my stress in my back.
Yeah.
And therefore I needed to, work on my stress because that's where it was going. All my stress was going to my back.
And I think if you have a problem that keeps, I have a lot of back issues. I'm constantly in pain with my back, and sometimes you don't, when someone actually asks you how you are, you actually don't want to answer it because you go, we could be here a long time. And they sort of the one thing that I would say to someone, please don't do this. Don't roll your eyes at someone.
Oh no.
When they talk about how they're feeling, because it's real for them. You might, I mean, the other thing is I live with a disability that you can't see. And you look at me and I look like amazing because I've got makeup and hair and it looks wonderful. But there are times that I don't look like this made up lady, that I am on the floor crying my eyes out in so much pain, or what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I can't cope. And I've had to pick myself up off the floor. And I think that anyone living with a hidden disability, we have a stigma over us, which is you're not really sick. You don't look ill. No. You're putting it on now.
But I mean, can you imagine what I would look like if my illness was on the outside?
Mm.
Nobody wouldn't want to be around you.
I
mean, they would. If you could actually see it, I would be afraid to know what it would look like if my illness was on the outside.
That's a really good point, actually. I wish I could, like you can see, perhaps the thyroid, or you might be able to see someone else, but when you can't see. And the other thing is I come from a generation where it was like, you pick yourself up, you start again, you put your makeup on, you do your hair, and you don't talk about it. And it's like, I'm fine. My mom, my nan, my great nan, they're all and it was passed generational, it's passed down. And I think that my nieces who are coming behind me, I think they've got it as well. I want to have a look about, just before we go in, as healing from trauma. And obviously
before you do that, I was going to tell you, your mom is one of the strongest women I've ever met.
Thank you.
Mom is so sweet. And what I was going to say is, I tell people, what you see in front of the camera is a persona a lot of times, and they judge us on the persona we put out. Mm. Y'all have seen me at my worst off of here. It's been on camera, but it's not been alive on here. And, and I have seen you, but you always look gorgeous to me, but with or without the makeup. And that's what I used to tell Wendy all the time. I would rather see you without the makeup. And she's like, "Are you crazy?" I was like,
"I'm rarely ever in makeup."
You know what I'm saying? I tell her, I said, I might be crazy, but I'm not stupid. And but like I said, people see the persona we put out. That's the reason I'm not on camera right now. Nobody wants to see me broke down in the bed with the dog laying on my neck. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't know what to do. The only thing he knows to do is cuddle. Daddy don't feel good.
And I think when you feel like that, you it's wonderful that you can even be here and you're talking to us and you're sharing it, because somebody will watch this and what we're talking about will resonate somewhere. But I mean, healing from trauma, talking to others is very, very, very important. It's a very important thing, and self-care is. I don't do enough of that. I really don't. I'm always go, fall into bed exhausted. And now I have a 4-month-old puppy. My life is just completely, the freedom I had has just completely disappeared. And that's been a bit of a mental head fuck to even deal with that again. I'm about to talk to a counsellor again, because I knew I needed to talk to someone, because it's getting that way. And that's what Wicked Women was about. That's why we began Wicked Women, was the fact that women or guys could listen to us and going through it, whether it's now, months, years later, and realize that if we can help one person, we've made a difference. You can find a support group if you need to connect with people who've had, like Michael was saying, experienced similar trauma. Talk to a mental health professional, talk to loved ones, exercise, practice mindfulness. Now, Mark would say this is a wonderful thing to do. Yoga, breathing, meditation, go into yourself, And I've started to listen to my breath, which is something I found that's so hard to do. Val was like, listen to your breath, and sometimes I actually do listen to it, and I go, hello.
It's hard to do at first, but once you're doing that and it clicks,
yes,
and you're able to do it, it really does help a lot.
Set realistic goals. What can you absolutely manage? And one thing I don't get, which is get enough sleep. I'm an insomniac and I'm a light sleeper. I mean, a flea could just sit down beside me and I'm awake. And I hate that because I want to go to bed at night and I want to shut my eyes and then wake up in the morning. And I don't get that. And it's driven me crazy because it makes you irritable. It makes you ill. You just want to sleep. And it causes problems in your relationships, etc., etc. Avoid substances, alcohol, drugs, etc. Talk to your GP, etc. But the most important thing is give yourself time. It takes time to recover from trauma. Accept that you're not your normal self, but you will feel better eventually. You don't know when, you don't know how. And don't be too hard on yourself, because the one thing I am is really hard on myself, Val. I beat myself up. I'm a loser. I'm this. I'm that. And I'm sure there's other people out there watching this that will say that I'm no good at this. I'm useless. That is where I have been in the last couple of months, and exactly where I'm struggling to get through right now. And also everything's got to be perfect. If it's not perfect, if it's not in the right way, I feel out of sorts.
But I think me and you both, not on purpose, talk down about ourselves, not on purpose, but before the show, we were both saying, "Oh my God, we have got to lose weight.
We've got to lose weight.
We feel awful. I'm fat." And
I know.
And I say it, and I notice myself saying it just through the day. I notice myself telling myself this, and my girls always call me on it, and us, but I don't realize a lot of times when I'm doing that. But I think we don't necessarily realize how we're talking about ourselves, how bad we're talking about ourselves.
But you also feel very alone, don't you? You feel very alone. And you don't want people to see the confident Val and the confident Wendy. You don't want them to see what you're really going through. And you brought up an interesting point about I've been ill on and off since August, and I've eaten to try and get better, to fight viruses, fight the illnesses, and you put weight on, and then you don't feel good about that because you're like, hang on a minute, I was a bit skinnier then, and now I've got all these extra.
Well, when you have that chronic pain and can't do what you used to do, that it's not only mentally, it's not only a mental problem because you think, you get so depressed because you can't make your body do what you used to be able to do. But then when you can't do that, you do gain weight, and then you look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, I have to do something about this.
But I also think
physically you can't, because
the body holds on to it as well. I think
that's why you're that way, because you're not able to do anything about it.
But I think the body holds on to it as a protective thing as well. But meditation is a really good way of encouraging relaxing and mindfulness, because releasing the breath, going into yourself, taking it in, breathing it out is very, very important. And I think that please, people, check out generational trauma. If you had a parent who was abusive to you, Michael, I know, will understand that. If you had a parent that let you down, etc., look into it and go, I need to break that cycle so that my children or my grandchildren don't go down that road. And I think it's really important that when we pick this subject for tonight, you can feel very alone when you've got trauma, and you might have a few people you can talk to, even if you're in a relationship with somebody and they suddenly see you turn into what you think is a complete nut job because you're anxious, panicking, overwhelmed. I would suggest to everyone to please support them. Don't roll their eyes, listen to them, help them through it. And if you're going through stuff yourself, be kind. I should take my own medicine, but be kind, give yourself time and look at ways, look online, talk to other people. And Michael, coming from someone with PTSD, what would you suggest they do?
Just, talk to your brothers and your sisters that you served with. Like I said, don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That was one of the best things that I ever heard. We dealt with 3 within, it was like 9 months at one unit. We had three guys take a permanent solution for temporary shit. And you don't realize when you do that how it affects the other guys, that you served with or whatever. And that's when I was still in uniform. And like I said, 22 a day is a real number to me. And I hate to see, which, Jason has been there. Jason has saw a lot of people, with his impeccable style. Forget, that man was in uniform too. Now he just does hats and travels Route 66, and find something that you enjoy doing. And that's one of the things that's really hurt me since I've been down. I can't get out and go to the farm. The farm really, really helped me process a lot of trauma from my childhood and the Army, because now it's my farm and nobody can tell me what to do with it. I can have all the big ass ideals I want. I can have all the screwy ideals I want, and it's mine to either make it or break it. And it seems like the boys like it. You know what I'm saying? And I have met family that I didn't.
Space. What you're saying is you need that place.
It is.
And that's where I feel completely overwhelmed here, because I'm trying to juggle this. I'm trying to deal with that. I've now got a shark, a miniature shark in my life.
I was going to say, show me your arm. What you did to yourself and blamed it on that poor innocent angel.
Yes. Can you see the bruises?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of funny, and she'll get the humor, because when Poseidon when I first got him, he was kind of dumped here, and now he's my buddy. And she's like, "Oh, look at that angel! He is such an angel." He's eating my extension cord. She's chewing holes in my socks and my hand. She's like, "Oh, look at him! He's such an angel." And it took about, we was trying to figure out his age. He's 2.5 now. It took about 2.5 years to keep him from destroying my house and me, and I'm thinking, but Huckleberry, he's a gorgeous hound. And I tell people, he's not a Henry. Henry's like me. He's an old beaten down guy. Had his own space and his own routines. And Huckleberry's trying to find his spot where he feels comfortable. A vampire probably don't like it, because, everything's a toy to Huckleberry. You, the cat.
Including my arm, yes.
Yeah,
as I said, he's under the table to sleep. And it's been a while, but it's so nice to be back. And I hope,
yes, it is.
I actually, I'm going to cut it shorter tonight, but it's like, it's so nice to be back, Val, and to have Michael back as well. And I know, Carly and Kay and everybody, they're all going through their own stuff right now. We'd love them to, when they're feeling good, to come back and join us. But just to be back, Val, it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when we don't come on, we kind of get in that kind of rut. And then you have to pull yourself and make yourself do something to bring you out of it. But I do want to ask.
Coming on, then you get into the routine of not doing it.
Right. I do want to ask everybody to say a little prayer for Ken. I haven't heard yet if he's out of surgery now or not, but hopefully he'll be back at it in a few weeks and be able to have no pain.
Normally at the end of the show, we talk about, and it's been a very strange time, because I had that respiratory virus that ended up with me in hospital. Scotty got the same virus. He ended up on a ventilator, which damaged his vocal, and he's had to take a step back. And I think that people don't realize, like me, Scotty has a health issue, also immune stuff as well going on, diabetes, etc. And that's why he's not been back. So we are apart from Ken's show, we're the first back, because normally it would be Ken and Scotty and I and whatever. But actually, Wicked Women, I said to Val, we've got to come back. We've been gone 3 months, 3 months, and I'm like, I know I've got some stuff ahead, but it's like hopefully I'll be able to have some good Sundays. And as I said, he's worn himself out. The collar helped, and he's now sleeping like a baby. But it's so nice to be back. And so this week coming, I don't know if Scotty's going to be on the airwaves. We don't know if Ken will, but all being well, Val and I will be back next Sunday.
I have
an idea.
on the 13th. My show will be back. I have a guest, so I'll put out a banner for that.
Now, obviously, next weekend is obviously coming up to Valentine's weekend, and we're looking at karmic love. That will be our next topic for next Sunday. So look out for the promo of karmic love, and it's quite an interesting subject. So Michael, I hope you'll join us for that.
Now I got a question. When you say karmic love, are you talking about like Joker and Harley Quinn, or
karmic,
karmic,
K-A-R-M-I-C.
Not comic love, karmic.
Karmic.
Oh, like karma will get you in the end. It'll bite you in the ass. Okay.
Karma.
Okay, karma. Okay.
See, she can't say it with that R.
With that
karmic.
Karmic love. She leaves her R out.
I need.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? You told me one time. We're both speaking English, but I can't understand the word that's coming out of your mouth. But she told me that, and I was like, yeah, but we're both speaking the King's English. She said, one of us is, but you're not.
Casey, it's been great to see you back on Wicked Women. Thank you for supporting us. And I want to say thank you to everybody that has stayed the course, waited for us to return. You can find us on Wicked Women 888 on YouTube, if that's where you're watching us from. You can find us on The Dark Huntress on YouTube. You can also find us on Wicked Women 888 on Twitter and Instagram, and also TikTok, which I haven't actually used a lot of, but we are on there as well. Michael, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experiences, Mr. Wicked, and hope to see you next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Ma'am, I love it when he says it. Say it again.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, very southern. Like I said, I can't speak the King's English very well, but I can get the ma'am part in there.
Oh my God, it's such a beautiful, beautiful accent. Val, what's the rest of your week and your Sunday look like?
Oh, well, it's dinner time, so I'm going to be eating when I get off here. And I'm making two sets of coasters. They are skull coasters for Valentine's because I am weird that way. And the rest of the week I have a doctor's appointment, and then whatever comes up.
Yes, I know that feeling so well. I'm at the hospital myself this week, but I hope everybody, because we will be here after Valentine's, I hope everybody has a happy Valentine's Day. And be kind to yourself. Even if you don't have a Valentine, you be your own Valentine. You spoil yourself. You don't always need someone to do it for you. You do that. And don't forget to tell yourself that you love yourself too, because we don't often tell ourselves that we love ourselves.
I know Wendy's probably getting ready to go to bed. I was going to ask Valerie, are you watching the Super Bowl tonight, or are you going to pass?
No, I'm watching Fear the Walking Dead.
I would rather watch Patriot.
Yeah, Doctor Who. Yeah.
I'm watching. I was a big fan of The Walking Dead, and I found Fear the Walking Dead on Tubi.
Yeah,
so I have been watching that one.
No,
I'm The Walking Dead ain't bad.
And that's probably why I'm making skull coasters for Valentine's.
Rather you than me. In the meantime, I wish everybody a very safe week, a very happy week, and a very wicked week. But if you are going through trauma right now, you're not alone. There's a lot of us out there.
I do want to say Ken is in recovery. So he is out of surgery and in recovery now.
That's wonderful. Keep going, Ken.
That's it.
We want you back.
They give you the good drugs, so he's probably with the fairies right now. He's probably
with the fairies.
Yeah. He's probably in another dimension right now. because when I had my back surgery.
Oh, he has been on the phone. So trust me.
Oh Lord.
Well, my darlings, I have to run, but I will see you next week, Val. Michael, lots of love to you, honey. And Val,
thank you, everybody.
Like, share, subscribe, and literally, have a wonderful week and take care of yourself and each other. See you later, guys. Bye.